AI is taking over all of our lives and someday will become sentient and lead to the complete destruction of mankind as we know it. I mean, I don't really think that, but there are people who are genuinely afraid of AI. I'm not really. Is it going to lead to someday like me not having a job anymore? Probably. I'm a somewhat young dude, and technology moves pretty quick these days. But people are using AI for all sorts of stuff these days. And so I thought it would be a fun little exercise to ask AI who would win the next 10 college football national championships. And not to be all clickbaity on you, but I think the answers might surprise you. One, because in the 10 years, it did not predict a repeat national champion. It did not think that it gave me 10 different schools. And I was really specific in what I wanted from AI. I told him, give me the national champion from 2025 through 2034 and tell me why they are going to win the national championship. And some of the answers are they're generally generic AF, but then also like it's crazy how some of them are so wildly inaccurate, and then others are kind of dead on. So without further ado, I'm going to give you the first 5 national champions that AI says from 2025 through 2029 are going to win the national title. And it says in 2025 that Alabama is going to win the national championship. And when it said historically dominant under Nick Saban, Alabama consistently recruits top talent and has a strong track record of success. Well, that's true, but Nick Saban ain't at Alabama anymore. So that could be a problem for AI. Also, Clemson in 2026. Another powerhouse program in recent years, Clemson has been a regular contender for the national title and is known for its strong recruiting classes. I don't know if you've kept up on the transfer portal, but moving on. 2027, Ohio State. Now, the reason it says Ohio State's going to win in 2027 is one of the top programs in the Big Ten Conference. Ohio State has a rich history and consistently fields competitive teams. They sure do. And apparently it's just the idea of like, hey, you know, at some point they're going to win one. They're going to stop losing at the most inopportune times, and they're going to win a national title, and it's in 2027. 2028, the Georgia Bulldogs recently won the national championship in 2020 and has been a strong competitor in the SEC. They did win the national championship in 2020 and also in 2022. So why AI didn't tell me that? Like, the idea of like, hey, they've won 2 national championships back to back in the last 3 years. That would make sense. That would be a natural thing for you to tell me why you're predicting that school will win a national title. But to just point out 2021 is reason for success, I found interesting. And then 2029, it said Oklahoma, a perennial contender under Lincoln Riley. And now Brent Venables, Oklahoma consistently competes for conference championships and playoff spots. Now, I find it, and every time you look at something that AI spits out at you, it's like, okay, like what's the trend? What's the thing that's linking all these together? I don't know that it's all 4 of these 5 schools are red, right? Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Oklahoma are red. Clemson is orange and purple. And so I was like, maybe AI has like a bias for red-based teams. That would be a ridiculous thing, but I feel like it's one of those things that you kind of like when it gives you the result, you're trying to figure out like, okay, why did it give me this result? Why is this the answer that it gave me? Because there's no rhyme or reason. There's no like, it's just the same thing as asking a toddler, like, hey, who's going to win the 2028 national championship? Like, Georgia. Okay. Apparently you think it's Georgia. Because there's no rhyme or reason to it, but I wanted to know, like, what in the world? What? So 4 of the 5 are red, but I don't think the red bias is strong. Because in 2030 through 2034, there ain't a red team. In 2030, AI believes that LSU will win the national championship. It said LSU has shown the ability to win championships, most recently in 2019, and remains a force in the SEC. Yeah, that's true. They won the title in 2019. They have remained a force in the SEC. It's a really generic reason to give me why you think they're going to win the title. But if I were to tell you in the next 10 years, LSU is going to win a national championship, who's going to bet no against that? I don't think I would. Now, whether Brian Kelly's the guy who leads them to a title is a different discussion for a different day. But I would bet you in the next 10 years, LSU wins a title. I would feel strongly that the odds were pretty good in that happening. 2031, Oregon. A rising program in recent years, Oregon has been competitive in the Pac-12 and has made strides towards national prominence. Again, we just had, yes, LSU has remained a factor in the SEC and won the title in 2019. And then it's like, Oregon is getting really good at the Pac-12. Like, well, I don't know how to tell you this, computer, but that doesn't exist anymore. Actually, it does. Washington State and Oregon State are still in the Pac-12, which is just as standard ridiculousness as there being 18 teams, or 18 teams in the Big 12, or 16 teams in the Big 12, 18 teams in the Big 10, 2 teams in the Pac-12. Like you got to freshen up on your college football history here, AI. Like Nick Saban's not going to lead Alabama to a title in 2025, and Oregon probably not going to represent the Pac-12 in the national championship in 2031. In 2032, Texas, with a new head coach and historically strong program, Texas has the potential to return to national championship contention. I think you could argue that Texas has already returned to national championship contention. Like they were in the college football playoff last year and they had a chance to win the semifinal in the final moments. I would say safely that is like, hey, you have returned to title contention. 2033, Florida. Now this one, another SEC powerhouse. Florida has a strong football tradition and has won national championships in the past. Yes, they have. And then in 2034, it has Michigan winning again. It says, although they have faced challenges in recent years, Michigan has a storied football history and the potential to compete for championships. It's funny to me that the challenges that Michigan faced came during its championship year. Like the idea that like AI knows that in 2019 LSU won, or in 2020 or 21 Georgia won. Yeah, those are all true. And then in 2024, when Michigan wins, it's like, they've struggled recently, but they got a strong history and potential. Well, yeah, they're coming off a national title. This might just be homerism, but I think history shows this, that I don't think I wouldn't bet Michigan to win another title in the next 10 years. Generally, they're on a once every 50-year clip. You can say 1997. That's fine. Nebraska would have killed them, and I think we all know that. And then 2024, but then like 1948. Got kind of this history showing you're not a title contender or a title winner once a decade. Now, maybe they'll turn that around. Maybe Jim Harbaugh flails and flames out with the Los Angeles Chargers and comes back and returns them to the glory he once already did. I don't know. I don't know that I would bet strongly that Michigan would win a title again in the next 10 years. I do think there are some interesting, like, my takeaways are who will, in my opinion, win a title in the next 10 years. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, I feel probably pretty good about. Clemson, I don't know. Oklahoma, I'm iffy. Oregon, I would say probably not. Florida, I would say probably not. In Michigan, I would say probably not. But that's how AI sees it. So if you are a betting person, I would get your, I don't know how far in advance you can bet, but according to AI, 2034, Michigan Wolverines going to win the title. So I would get on that as soon as I could, just with the odds, and because AI is going to make sure that Michigan wins the 2034 national championship. But I think when you look at, there are some interesting things here that nobody wins twice in a decade. I feel probably not going to get that right. somebody's going to win 2 in 3 years or 2 in 5 years or whatever the case may be. I just doubt that over the course of the next 10 years of the college football landscape, you're going to see 10 different winners of the national championship. I would guess that that's probably not going to be the case. But I thought it was just a fun little exercise to talk about during a Tuesday in June of like, hey, I wonder what AI thinks about who's going to win the national championship. And it's certainly got some opinions. I want to know your opinions. Let us know in the comments below. Did AI miss somebody? Did AI overvalue somebody? I think they did. Let us know in the comments below. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. See you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.